investor expectations are the highest in the back half of the year. For publicly traded companies, there's nothing more important than Q4.
It's do or die. And I think this is an interesting time in our lifetime to see all of these things converge in terms of what consumers expect and how much harder it is to trade.
We used to say measure what matters, but not anymore. Now it's more find it, fix it.
VOX Wins. Welcome everyone to VOX Wins Season 2. I have Atlanta's power couple in front of me with over 3 decades of experience in retail. We're talking warehouses, product development, digital, call centers, mobile apps, you name it, they've done it. So what better time than to bring Laura and Mike from Atlanta on to share with us what they think all things retail in Q4 mean to us. So welcome, Laura and Mike.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Did I miss anything?
Oh, we don't need to list everything.
I figured I'd keep your signs out of it. But what are you, a Virgo, Libra? What are you?
Oh, Sagittarius.
Oh, what about you, Mike?
Libra.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we were joking ahead of time that Mike is actually the one that planned everything. So he told Laura to be here and where to sit. So thank God for Mike. Okay, setting the stage here. We're talking about the global and seasonal retail landscape. And really, I wanted to know what Mike and Laura's perspective, what were on the Q4 challenges that we're all facing worldwide, North America, Europe, APAC, you name it, they know. And why do you think it's a make or break for retail and e-com?
So, there are a couple of things that I think are really top of mind right now. And we touched on this as we were kind of preparing to have this conversation. In the Americas market where we sit today, we've got newness in the impacts of tariffs. We've got a lot of pressure on the consumer's wallet. And this is make or break in terms of when you can either hit or not hit your year. So it's an incredibly intense time of year from all facets, whether you're at the very front end selling to the consumer or whether in my case, you're preparing for now 2027, you're balancing a lot of balls in the air while trying to deliver your most important quarter for most retailers. So it's do or die. And I think this is an interesting time in our lifetime to see all of these things converge in terms of what consumers expect and how much harder it is to trade.
And Black Friday, how do you feel about that?
Black Friday from a consumer experience perspective continues to be incredibly hyper promotional. And there's also a desire to find newness and things that can surprise and delight. That's a phrase I learned from my days at Target, always surprising and delighting your guest. And you're always trying to one up yourself, but ultimately the consumer wants great product at a great price and they save their dollars to shop at this time of year. And what we're seeing from an industry perspective has been a continuum from the last couple of years. It's just starting a little bit earlier because everyone's fighting to the finish line of getting the share of wallet. So we're just continuing to see that momentum and that step change in terms of the timing of when things are starting. But it's a crucial time for all of us in the industry to be successful.
Black Q4 now.
Black Q4.
Not Black Friday anymore. You better be ready to go in August or September.
And Mike, what's your perspective?
We always talk about 3 things, right? The revenue concentration in Q4. Most retailers will do 25 to 40% of their revenue in Q4, primarily in November and in December. So it's dramatic in terms of making and breaking the year, like Laura said. But there's also competitive positioning. There's investor considerations, and there's Q1 for next year. Folks are more likely to shop more stores in Q4, right? They're looking around not only for the best deals, but also captivated by more creative marketing and some price discounts also during this time of year. So you got an opportunity to make a first impression again if you're a brand. So it's a high stakes game, right? You got to win every customer interaction. You might take that customer through Black Friday into the next year or the next 20 years, right? Q1 is based heavily on Q4, right? If we end up with too much inventory because we don't make our Q4 sales plan, we carry that into Q1, creates markdowns, forced liabilities going into the next year. But if we crush it in Q4, we've got a good springboard into the next year. And then investor expectations are the highest in the back half of the year. And for publicly traded companies, there's nothing more important than Q4, right? It'll influence your stock price. Missing Q4 projections can have outsized negative implications on your brand. So the revenue for this year, springboard into next year, competitive positioning for customer acquisition and retention, and investor expectations. That's why Q4 is the most important time of the year for retailers.
I think one of the things that's also really important for us to touch on, and we were kind of talking about this heading into this conversation, is the best of breed retailers spend almost a full year getting ready for this quarter. It's not something that you wake up and it's Q4, right? It starts with a hindsight of what worked and what didn't from the prior year, and then really building a plan and executing that plan flawlessly. If you're not locked and loaded by the time you get to September 1st, you're kind of behind, right? You're kind of actually screwed if you're not well prepared in advance. And there's a number of things you have to get ready for. And, I think back to some of my most intense days, and Mike and I were at Carter's together through a rocket ship ride of growth, and watching that business grow and watching the amount of change that happened over time in terms of how we prepared going into those events, because it was that full year end-to-end life cycle of looking at everything that you want to win with, but also everything that could go wrong, and making sure you were prepared to handle, whether it's, the website crashing on the very farthest end, to a product not shipping from the factory on time, to selling through something before the event even started unanticipated. So there's a whole host of things you have to be ready for, and you need time to do it well.
Operational rigor comes to mind. I just think that you just get better as you learn those lessons, especially during that propelled growth. So customer expectations, do you think that they're high across the board?
High across the board.
Yeah. And what about the promotion race that all of our retailers we're seeing already promote?
Yeah, the fun thing about customer expectations, though, is that they're reasonable. Customers are practical. They understand that it's the hardest time of the year for brands and retailers as well. So I think being transparent, having the ability to monitor and be proactive in your communication with your customers, it is everything. I don't think customers want to feel like, they're being ignored. They don't want to feel like brands don't have their best interest in mind in Q4. I feel like the expectations are higher, but the way we combat that is by being prepared, like Laura said, but also by being communicative and being honest with our customers. If we need an extra week to ship a product, I think customers understand that, as long as we do it proactively.
A little text message or an email goes a long way.
Well, and the scramble is really fun. The behind the scenes, it's like the band broke up, but the wedding's still going on and nobody has to know it. So yeah, it's great. So peak end theory, tell me about that, Mike.
Oh boy. One of those concepts that completely changes, the world as you think about it once you understand it. Daniel Kahneman won a Nobel Prize partly for his work in this, in economics. The idea is that our brains are always tricking us in terms of how we remember something or our emotional response. That typically we remember the peak and we remember the end. As a retailer, there's lots of ways we can channel this knowledge, but Disney's fantastic at this. That's why they make you, the last thing you see when you're leaving Main Street USA is the lights and the fireworks. Cheesecake Factory is a masterclass at peak end theory, right? You have this overwhelming, stressful menu. You may wait 45 minutes for a table, but when your food comes, you get 3 times as much as you need. And you always end with cheesecake, and you go home with meals for the next 3 days, right?
That menu totally stresses me out.
Yeah, you don't remember the long wait. You don't remember the stress over how to choose from 1,000 things. You just remember the end and the peak there. So, world-class experience in retail. How do we make sure that the end is great? Amazon's phenomenal at this, right? They use their one-click checkout to make sure that the end of the shopping experience is easy, seamless, fantastic delivery, typically within a couple of days, phenomenal reverse logistics and service should anything go wrong. So the very end of that experience was wonderful. I think there's a lot of ways to think about this as a retailer, and to make sure that even if you can't invest in everything, every single moment, figure out how to make sure you have one great moment in the experience that stands out, and make sure that the end is fantastic.
How do you feel about dashboards and automation during this time?
And if you don't have world-class dashboards in 2025,
shame on you.
yeah, no chance. We used to say measure what matters.
Yeah.
But not anymore. Now it's more find it, fix it, right? We have to be able to monitor real time using AI, machine learning, soon generative AI, deploy autonomous alerts and autonomous remediation for the most part. If not, that remediation needs to kick to a human to solve immediately. So 0 downtime was always our goal, not minimum.
Yeah.
0, no tolerance for challenges, technical challenges at all. I don't think that it's reasonable for retailers to get ready for Black Friday like it's a project. There's just not enough time to figure out how to absorb 10 times more traffic than you normally have, right? So we always like to operate like it's Black Friday week year round. And that way Black Friday is not something different. Right. It's not some Super Bowl that we're not ready to play. We work like this every day. Our technology supports these type of pressures every single day. And Black Friday will never be just another day. But from a technical perspective and a process standpoint, we know how to do this. We do it every day. And I think that can help us get through these peaks. We wanted to be done by the end of July, ready to go. And at the end of July, then we turn the page to the next year because we know we're locked and we're ready to go. We have the people, the processes, and the technology we need to have a successful Q4 at that point. If you're scrambling in August and September to get ready for Q4.
Or November. What's the date today?
I know, right? Can you believe how fast the year came?
There's no sense in not having great dashboards in 2025. Some of them are free. A lot of them are inexpensive, and it's the benefit of the AI generation here.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Couldn't have said it better. Okay, I'm looking back at our notes and seeing that we talked about all the discount strategies and promotions during this time of year. How do you plan and prepare for that? What have you two seen throughout your over 3 decades of combined experience?
I think it's a little bit like I said, you go in with a well-intended plan in terms of kind of your foundational promotion. There's always some big bang promotion that every retailer really anchors around. And then you want to distort your inventory investment into the things the consumer comes to during those time frames. And it changes, right? There are trends that impact things that maybe one year product A was your best seller, but product B is trending. So you go back and reinvest kind of heading into that peak demand time frame. But that foundational promotion, it starts there, whether it's a percentage off or buy more, save more, or, unexpected discounts on things that are typically full price. You really have to go in well intended, because if you don't, you may get surprised by your margin at the end of the day or your demand if you're not aggressive enough or you're overly aggressive and give away dollars. So foundational promotion first. And then there's that layer of those hyper momentary items that you drop in. So whether it's a doorbuster strategy, or it can be just something that's a surprise and delight opportunity, something that, the customer isn't expecting, something that is unique and thoughtful. One of the things I was listening to another podcast this week was talking about how important Advent calendars have become, and different iterations of Advent calendars is just these kind of novelty things that consumers really love and they collect. So creating either collectability or something really unique for that time frame can be at a price, doesn't actually always have to be. The Advent calendar example is a full price thing that people just love that they can get it for a short amount of time, and it might be a unique experience for them and their family. So it kind of covers the gamut. You've got your core foundation, you've got some unexpected things that you're going to drop in, and it goes back to the same conversation we've been having a plan going in. So you've got the inventory to drive the sales, and that you don't completely disrupt your margin along the way if you're not thinking critically about how the components all work together.
We did talk about this when we prepped for our call, but something that in my recent experience, affiliate marketing and social media, and how that's really presenting an opportunity that I think we try to make it organic, or do we? I think we've learned how to engineer it a bit too.
Let's say it differently. We wish it were organic because that's free, but it's not.
We like the organic things that happen in social media in our favor. Yes, for sure. Is that something that has taken a higher priority for you, would you say, in the last few years?
Yeah, the biggest thing that's changed in the socials is the ability to test at scale without putting money behind ads. It feels crazy to put $1 behind content that you aren't sure is great content yet. The shift now is deploy as much content as practical in the organic channels. Learn quickly, usually 24 hours or less. You'll know what works. Put your money behind that creative that works. Great creative, especially this time of the year, beats great targeting all day long. Great technology doesn't make or break yet Q4 as much as great creative does, because great creative creates that emotional connection to the brands. Great targeting is just tactical. So I think that's the biggest change, is the amount of content that's now out there, exponentially probably grown in the past couple of years, and the ability to put your dollars from a performance marketing standpoint behind stuff that you already know works.
I think the thing that I'm seeing in my space now, because we're a global brand, is that demand for the amount of content to really drive the volume and the stories you need to tell, and how AI is going to start impacting our ability to proliferate really quickly. So that's a world I'm really fascinated by right now, because we know we have these really unique consumers across the globe, and, A, B, and C region is going to have a different need, and the cost of trying to support that from kind of an analog way that we do today isn't scalable, but AI is going to help just completely explode that as we go forward and make that creative. And the ability to test, today we may A/B test. Why don't we A to Z test? If we were able to proliferate the creative, we could really explode the efficacy of some of the things we're putting in the market. I think the other thing too, associated with what's happening from a social perspective and affiliate perspective, and we did touch on this a little bit, is the advent of TikTok Shop, and how, depending on the vertical and depending on the consumer you're targeting, can be a really powerful tool. I don't think we completely understand how big or important it is, and how critical some of the engagement with a live selling audience is. It's almost like the old days of QVC. It's the evolution of that. It's been fascinating to see in our space what's working, what's not working, who's engaging with it. A lot of times it's not who we expect. And without giving away too much, I think it's an incredible opportunity, again, to test and try things and figure out what works. And there can be a lower cost and barrier to entry if you find the unique partner or platform or promotional angle to help make that work.
I've been following the TikTok Shop, and I loved that. I draw a parallel between when I worked at Sears. I remember people coming in and studying us for buy online, pick up in store. And I'm like, what is that? And they were like, yeah, Kate, your dad always bought his grill at Sears and drove up and picked it up. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And they're like, they've been doing it forever. And retailers were studying them. And although we didn't call it that, and what I love with TikTok Shop is QVC has been doing that for a long time, and they partnered there together to launch. So I just love that these legacy brands that are actually partnering with the newer brands. It's great.
Yeah, with all the channels, all the promotional options, we'll always get back to first principles for e-commerce. We want to start the cart, whatever that takes. Don't get lost, and we want to get out of their way. Yeah, which means any potential friction, any hurdle that's in the experience at all in Q4, probably not the right time, right? If we're trying to introduce new brand values, our sustainability initiatives, maybe some new math in our loyalty program, that might not be the right time. Yeah. Let's get this cart started. Let's get out of the way and get the transaction. Let's capture that customer. A lot of those will be new customers to the brand. And once we've captured that transaction in Q4, in this arms race for sales, we can go back around and communicate with the customers the other stuff we'd like for them to understand about our company and our brands.
One of the things I'll give Mike a tremendous amount of credit for is his ruthless approach to removing friction and really creating an immensely successful and easy way to shop in children's apparel. And one of the things I think, and just touching on what he was just alluding to, is don't introduce friction in the middle of your peak season. That is suicide, right? You want customers to come there. You want them to know exactly what to expect, and you want it to be easy. And any little thing, don't get enamored by the little widget that someone sells you that says, hey, we're going to explode your Q4 business. Prove it to me first in July, and then we'll talk about whether we want to do it in December or not. But it is hypercritical.
I think that's important to really understand that too, especially if you're experienced with the cart and the experience, because if you make it hard for people to buy, they will abandon. And I just think great ideas are great ideas, but yeah, exactly. I love it. Okay. The magic is making customers feel seen during chaos. Talk to me about how you feel about that. Personalization, communicating with clients. I know it's important in Q4. What's your take on it, Mike?
Communicate often and give the customer control. That lets them feel seen, heard, and comfortable working with your brand. As many updates as often as they would like, preferably that's their choice, right? Whether that's through your mobile app, email, text. We have your order. We'll let you know when it's filled. We filled your order. We'll let you know when it's shipped. We've shipped your order. We'll let you know when it's expected to arrive. Your order's arrived. We'd love for you to rate and review. Continue the conversation just like a human would. If something goes astray, even if it's minor, hey, we expected your order to arrive on Monday. It looks like it's going to be Tuesday. As soon as we know that, we communicate with them. Even if it still arrives on Monday, well, now you've exceeded expectations. And then give them control. Hey, we're out of stock on this item. We have these 3 others. Would you like for me to replace this one with these 3 others? We can do that free of charge, and we'll overnight it to you. Customers will forgive mistakes. They won't forgive being ignored or feeling powerless. I think pretty soon they also won't accept canned responses, right? Things, sorry for the inconvenience. We'll try to make it right. So identifying that you know who they are. We know you've been a loyal customer for 3 years. This is your 10th order. We're sorry, but something's gone sideways. Here's how we're going to make it up to you. I think that's the future of proactive customer service. We're at a point now where people are going to expect a level of service that is beyond probably what humans can provide. But that's where all of our AI bots will help us out and help us.
I loved it when I ran the contact center and people would say, Kate, what's everybody saying? What's our return policy? How do I return something? And where's my stuff? Figure it out. There's 2 that have always been a problem for me, which is reliable technology partners. So really understanding what your contingency planning is, right? And are they going to be available at, 1 a.m. our time, but could be, 5 a.m. their time, right? And how do you prepare for that in Q4? Is that part of the negotiation, or do you have a team that helps you during Q4 to make sure?
We do build those types of support expectations into contracts, but that's only worth paper.
I know, right? We can do it all.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of ways to try to build that support. One is just the human to human connection. That's always going to be the most important. The vendors are going to support the folks that they have the closest connection to when it's a critical time period. And then testing throughout the year. It's not just testing the technology, it's testing the human processes as well. It is not difficult to take every component of the e-commerce ecosystem at some point throughout the year and stress test. One thing that we used to do in the warehouses was we would let volume in the high summer build up over 2 or 3 days and then see if we could ship it all in one shift.
Really?
Yes. Easy way to figure out. Easy way to figure out how many units you could actually get out of the building and if the technology will crash or not. And with vendors, same thing, right? If we typically would have a certain amount of traffic, we'd let that build up behind a wall for the order management system. We could do something like hold all of the orders for 12 hours and then let them flow into the order management system all at once. See how it reacts on a Tuesday in June. If you do identify an opportunity in June, it's pretty easy to recover. The volumes aren't that high. You've got time. You can figure it out and get ready. So I think creating environments earlier in the year that allow you to emulate what it's going to be like on Black Friday is the only real way to know. With the vendors in the high summer, it's a great opportunity for you to do 2-hour contingency planning work sessions with vendors. My favorite way to do it is kind of a tabletop exercise where we sit down and we go through all the potential points of failure and do a pre-mortem. What on our side could go wrong? What are the fringe scenarios that a customer could find themselves at somehow? And what on your side could possibly go wrong? And then let's see how much we can automate in terms of resolution and then what we want to put in place. And that just comes down to usually money, right? We can be as flexible as we want. Money. It just depends on how many backup servers would you like to pay for, But that way you at least have a plan and you can say, hey, for the majority of the situations that we can see reasonably occurring, we feel like we have a really good plan, that our downtime will be somewhere between 0 and 10 minutes with these 35 vendors. There are a few exceptions that we've identified, and those we just don't think that the vulnerability or the likelihood are high enough that we need to do anything about it right now. Instead, we're going to put dashboards on those things. If those occurrences happen over Black Friday, we'll know early and be able to.
I love that. In my olden days of working at Nordstrom and opening new stores, we would stress test the escalator, and they would make everyone get on the escalators until they stopped to see, what that experience was, at the store and, in person. And what I love that retail always brings us back to is the customer experience and all the different pinch points. So whether it be Wizmo, technology, right? Is the dashboard on? Is this thing on? Making sure that we're measuring the right things to make sure that experience is always golden. Okay, I read something in notes that you sent me, and you have an acronym called Test the Heck Out of Everything. TTHOOE. Test the heck out of everything. And you do that in June and July, you say, or?
Assume anything could possibly go wrong. And then create contingency plans and make sure everybody knows that playbook. The goal, of course, is to have a perfect Q4. Sometimes that happens. But the result is that even if things don't go perfectly, you have a great playbook. We don't have to call a timeout. We're not on the phone for 5 hours trying to figure out who to call, what to do, what broke. Right? We already have a playbook. So we've planned for this situation, and now everybody can just go execute. And through that, can eliminate points of failure, but also fix them faster.
Do you find that teams that have a great playbook, do you think that, and they're so high performing, they stop and celebrate the wins? Or do you think they just address the issues and keep, sometimes I find that the highest performing teams I've ever been on, we don't even stop and smell the roses. We just keep going on and fixing things and making it better. How do you pause and really make sure the team feels great during this really stressful time?
Yeah, the process folks aren't always the best at celebrating, that's for sure.
No.
My approach to it was to find the person on the team who was more results oriented and was great at creating fun and celebrating, and delegate it to them and say, okay, here's what we want to do. Every day that goes by that we meet our KPIs, right? Whether that's no downtime, amount of units shipped, conversion, whatever it might be, we want to celebrate. So we want to send out a note. We want a note to come from the CEO. We want to have cake, right? We want to acknowledge the folks on the team every single day that we hit our goals. We would do that through the call center everywhere. So yeah, I think every team has a person like that would love to be the party planner and the head of celebrations. It is just about finding them and letting them thrive.
Kate, you said something though that I think is true. When you have high expectations and you're on a high performing team, it's never perfect. You're always looking for that way to do it better or to remove the friction or deliver better results. And I think and you said it, right? When you've been on those super high performing teams, you're always in that mode to say, that was good, but it could be even better, right? And it is important to celebrate, and I'm not going to discount that. And listen, I'm usually the one who's like, woohoo, everything's great. Yeah, I'm the optimist. But in my work product and in Mike's work product, we're very much of the mindset that, yep, that was pretty good. But hey, the hindsighting process of here's how it's going to be even better next time. And it's not a negative. You make it a positive to say, wow, we really learned some things and we're going to just continue to make this better.
Yeah, timing is everything, right? We're pretty involved in youth sports right now. And one of the most important pieces of advice that you'll hear from professional athletes and folks that have done this a lot is enjoy the game, enjoy the ride home. The time for feedback, work, criticism is at least 24 hours after the game. So we always treated Black Friday the same way. When we're playing the game, it's all positive momentum. And then when the game's over in December, that's when we can get back together and we can have a sober hindsight. What went great? What are we excited about? What do we think we could do better next year? All the way across the board, but not stopping in the middle of the game and saying, let's talk about this a little bit. Why did this happen? And, and trying to litigate anything in the middle of the peak. So we typically would separate those two things.
Well, and I think those intense moments where you're expecting people to be working past the boundaries of an 8 to 5 too, there's a degree of levity that you've got to add into the mix. So whether it's, ugly Christmas sweater day, we do a dip off as part of our holiday month, having those moments to just take a breath and realize, hey, you're just selling stuff, right? This isn't brain surgery. It's not rocket science.
Yeah. I remember at my previous job, we had National Sweat Fleece Day, and it was like wear your sweats to work and like just, be comfortable and happy. And like the team, of course, loved that. And it was great. It was really great. You're right. And those don't cost anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be human for a minute.
Yeah. And when you're with like hyper creative people, this is what I found. Like they think out loud. So they're like, oh, we should have like put this here in the checkout, or we should have like made the button blue instead of red. And you're like, no, like celebrate. We just did like 500 times more volume than we've ever done before in our life. Okay, Laura, Mike, it's been lovely talking to you. I have my final round, and this isn't all the way done, but to wrap up this call for our CX partners and team and our network, I love all the great advice that you've gotten and that you've given us. And I love that your years of experience have just really helped us. Top 3 things you would leave for our community to help them navigate Q4? Laura, you're up.
Okay. Let's see. So I'd say number one is be prepared. And by being prepared, that doesn't mean start on October 1st. That means plenty of time to get things right and make sure you've got a game plan in place. Number two, I would say make sure you are really doing a deep dive hindsight coming out of the prior year, because that's the kickoff to the next season. Understand, and it's a cross-functional hindsight. It's not just about what sold. It's not just about fulfillment metrics. It's not one thing, it's everything. So making sure you're getting a cross-functional group together to really unpack what happened so that you can problem solve. And it ties right into that be prepared part. And then I think the third thing I would say, I'm gonna make a comment that's all about levity. Remember that you're transacting at the end of the day, and remember to keep things in balance as you're going through those really intense times. It's what we just talked about, right? You may be a hard driving, hard charging type A do it better person, but remember that you're a team and you're in it together, and your team below you needs leadership at these times to help keep the train on the tracks, because sometimes things will go well and sometimes they won't. And remember to have humility as you go through these really intense peaks of work.
Yeah, from the engineer, I'll start with clear, repeatable processes. Now, execution is hard. Don't make it up as you go. Make sure everybody knows their responsibilities. Create high morale, trust. Number two, I would say, is create an open environment for bad news. So if people need help, they can ask for help. The last thing we want people to do is to try to solve a problem on their own, when 3 people could have solved it much faster. So practice generating feedback loops throughout the year. You're going to need them in Q4. And then the last one, most importantly, is that if you don't care for the people that you lead, none of the leadership stuff works. Build a genuine connection with your team. You're going to ask things of your team in Q4 that are above and beyond. They're going to work long hours. They're going to experience anxiety and stress. How you treat them all year long, and the trust you build and the camaraderie you build with them will make a big difference in Q4 when you need them the most.
It does. Thank you. 2 very different perspectives that I love. Okay, lightning round. Here we go. Okay, what's one thing you wish every executive would stop doing before Q4 begins?
I have one that I used to use about someone that I worked with. It's important to know the difference between being critical and being constructive. Being critical really tears a person down. Being constructive helps actually to build them back up and find solutions. And I think that's a really important, especially if you're in a situation where maybe you're not seeing eye to eye with somebody that works for you or works with you. Really think about that. Are you helping to solve the problem, or are you blaming? Is essentially the question.
Gosh, I find that is consistent though. That's a tough one. That's great. That's a good tip. I'm going to take that. Mike, fill in the blank. Flawless execution feels like
relief, from a
that's a good answer.
From one who doesn't celebrate. Flawless execution is the expectation. I don't think it's something to necessarily celebrate, because that is the expectation, especially when it comes to Q4.
What's one word that captures great leadership in the holiday rush, Laura?
Empathy.
What's the most unexpected lesson you learned from a Q4 failure?
I would say being in service of versus performing a service is a great lesson. The difference might be well understood thinking about a server in a restaurant. Being in service of means making sure that the meal was a success, that it was memorable. The service is bringing the menus, taking the drink order, taking the order for food back to the kitchen, bringing the bill at the end of the meal. That's the service. Being in service of is creating a great experience. And so I think that small shift between performing the service of, yes, I can take the money and I can ship the good, versus being in service of a wonderful experience for the customer, change your mindset and can help you come back to single orienting principles that will drive long-term growth. Okay, we're going to end this. I may have known Laura at a time where she liked to dance. What is your theme song as we head into this holiday Q4 adventure?
I Will Survive.
That's great.
That's a classic, girls' night out dance song. And you know what? You're going to get through it and it's going to be okay.
What about you, Mike?
I'm using more of a mindset of, let's get this party started. We're ready to go. Let's play.
Yeah, nice. Well, mine is All I Do Is Win. So
nice.
That's my favorite song. I love to win. Love to have fun. And I actually like it when he says all we do is win. So Q4 survival kit. What's always on your desk in December?
Oh man. Coffee.
Mike, do you want me to ask you a different one? Mike, more stressful, a crashing website on Cyber Monday or a family group text about gift ideas?
Oh, crashing website. I'll tell you, Kate, they did some study at Stanford and the results were crazy. They put heart monitors on folks, I think 100 grad students, and put them through all kinds of different experiences. One of them was riding roller coasters.
Oh my gosh, I'm writing this down. Okay.
And what they found was that little spinning wheel of death when a website doesn't load fast created a higher heart rate.
Oh my God, I love this.
In the group than the roller coaster did.
Oh my gosh, the shopping addiction is real, hey?
On my desk. I know what my answer to on my desk is, actually.
What's on your desk?
Nothing, just my laptop. No, because by the time we get to Q4, we have to be all squared away.
Yeah.
No papers. There's no stacks of things that are undone. We're ready to play. So nothing would be on my desk. A cup of coffee on my laptop. And
Laura, your first favorite guilty pleasure holiday snack during this season. What's next to that cup of coffee?
Ooh, so I'm a huge baker, actually, and Mike knows this because he gets a little frustrated with us because we make an absorbent amount of sweets, and he doesn't really eat sweets. He's very disciplined, but probably a peanut butter kiss cookie would be my indulgence sweet on the desk with my coffee.
Nice. What about you, Mike?
Pizza.
Oh my gosh, that's mine.
Yin and yang over here.
That's mine.
Okay. Props to the best pizza place I've probably ever been to. Not the question you asked, but I feel like I need to share it with the world. Brown Dog Pizza in Telluride, Colorado is the most insane pizza I've ever had in my life.
Yes.
Eat it 3 times in one ski trip, 5 days. It's so good.
I love that. One thing you secretly love about Q4 chaos.
I thrive in it. I love that intensity, like getting up and knowing, okay, it's go time every day. I actually really like that. I'm glad when it's over, but I also like that I know my day is going to be full throttle. Yeah.
What about you, Mike?
I'm competitive, so it separates the winners from the losers. That's what I love about it.
Oh, I'm so competitive. I'm like, what is that American Beauty? I will sell this house today. Cleans the house. Yeah, that's me. If your ops team had a mascot for Q4, what would it be?
It would be him dressed as a unicorn. Tell the story about why you showed up in a unicorn costume in front of the entire corporate office at Carter's.
Years ago, Carter's acquired a company called Skip Hop. They were famous for diaper bags, but then began branching out into other product categories. One of them was toddler backpacks, and they had these great themes for the backpacks. And when Carter's acquired the brand Skip Hop, the unicorn was the #1 selling toddler creative. So we got together a few days after the transaction went through, and we're charged with building a single retail experience from the two brands. So we talked through what we wanted to do, which was combine the website's point of sale, all the back end systems, and treat it just like it was our brand all along. Team did a few days of work on effort and proposed a 4-month roadmap. And I think I just offhandedly said something like, if you guys can get this done in 4 months, I'll dress up like this unicorn, right? There's no chance. So we're going to go with 6 to 8 months. And then if you can beat that, wonderful. We'll have a huge
you
party.
Lost the bet.
They got it done. They got it done in 4 months. Impossibly wonderful team. And so a few weeks later, we had a all hands town hall meeting where we were celebrating
1,000 people.
Yeah, and they asked me to kind of do the keynote, and so I was ready to do that. And that morning, one of the folks that was on the team showed up in my desk with a unicorn onesie and said, "Here you go." So I wore it. It didn't tell anybody. Wore it and did the town hall in the unicorn outfit. So
I love that.
Good way to end an incredible project.
That's fun too. It doesn't cost anything either, does it? Just a little bit of fun. That's nice. I would hate losing bets like that. I wouldn't enjoy that as much, but I bet you enjoy it. good laugh, right? On that note, it's been great winning with you both. I've learned tons of lessons. And this concludes our season 2 firecracker of a duo over 3 decades of retail experience. If you don't listen to this podcast, you are not going to be as successful as we are in Q4. So thank you very much.